it's true that it does cost more to build a higher quality building envelope. It's more expensive because you've got a thicker wall, you've got more insulation, so on. So I think that the perception that it's more expensive is true, but you're also getting more value, and you're also making your running costs of living in the home less, and you're improving your comfort and the performance of the house when you're using it. The cost per square metre issue is a different one, and I don't like using cost per square metre because I think it's a pretty useless measure of the cost of a building. If you have a big building, it tends to have a lower cost per square metre. A small house will typically have a higher one. You still need to have a kitchen, you still need a bathroom, you still need a switchboard and drainage, and you still need to have a driveway, and there are a whole lot of things that you need to put in your house, whatever the size of the house is. And if you spread that cost over an enormous house with 3 garages and 5 giant bedrooms and a wasteful corridor, and 1.5 bathrooms and a cheap kitchen, then you're going to have a really low cost per square metre house. But I wouldn't want to live in it, and probably nor would you. So what I encourage people to do is to take their budget, whatever it is, look at a realistic cost of actually building the house that they think they want, and try to make it, if it's going to be 10% more expensive to make a really high performing house as opposed to a minimum code house, then they make the house 10% smaller. And it's a lot easier than you think to do that, and it really just takes some care about establishing what your priorities are. And I encourage people to think about time as a building design element as well, so that you look at your spaces and you see what you're using them for all year. So if you have a guest room and you've only got it used 6 weeks of the year, you want to think about what you're doing with the other 44 weeks of the year and how you're going to use that space. So you might have a fold-down bed in a study, you might have one room that's a multi-purpose room, and it's a media room, it's a study, it's a guest room. At different times of the year it works in a different way. So there's a lot of clever furniture and joinery and things that can help you do that now. So focusing on your overall budget and being realistic about what you need. Most couples don't actually need a 4-bedroom house. If there are only 2 of them, they're probably sharing 1 bedroom if they're building it together. So they probably only need 2 bedrooms in their house, and until you've got more than 2 children, you can live in 2 bedrooms quite happily. So I think it's a better approach to build a smaller house, build a living room that's the right size for your final family, a good sized living room, so that if you do have a family of 4 living in it, it's big enough, as opposed to a tiny house where everything's kind of been put through the photocopier and shrunk down. And then you build your 2 bedrooms, you get your deposit together for a lower budget, you get your loan for a lower amount, and it makes it easier to afford. And then in 5 years' time, when you've paid down some of the mortgage and you're thinking you might want to have more family, then you look at adding on a room.
So would that be using sort of the modular housing design?
Yes, you can do it anyway. We do a lot of design for staged houses, and sometimes they're just a house with a plan for where an additional bedroom would go. Sometimes it's a house with a carport with a plan where a garage will go in the future. But we also have a range of modular energy efficient houses called high performance houses, where we've looked at standard pavilion sizes, and then you can buy a living room pavilion and you can add 1 or 2 bedroom or a 3 bedroom pavilion onto that. So you can mix and match the size of your house, and it's designed so that another module can be added at a future time. So we plan it on the site, and we often draw the whole house for how it will be in the future, and then people only build stage 1 of it to start with.
And why is it so expensive to build a house in New Zealand? Is it because we've got such a small market?
It's partly that. The size of the market means that we don't have standard sized products like windows and doors and things like that are harder to standardise, because no one can afford to have a whole warehouse full of standard windows sitting there hoping someone will want to buy them. So windows is quite a good example, because in lots of countries they are made to standard sizes and then the design's done around the window size. Here it makes no difference. All the windows are fabricated for the particular project, so you may as well have the window the size and shape that you want it. So that's quite good for architects. It gives us a little bit more leeway to design for the site, but it does mean that the manufacturers don't get the benefit of that bulk to keep costs down. There's also the problem that we have far fewer suppliers in New Zealand, so there's a bit more of a monopoly, or very few big players, so it's harder to get competition in the market. In Wanaka there are a number of people building who have actually imported all their materials from other countries, from the UK or the States, or windows from Eastern Europe, and people have found it's actually cheaper to turn themselves into an importer of building products and fill up a container and bring it in. Now if that is cheaper for someone who's never built before to do, then there's something wrong.
Where would you like to see that go in New Zealand, or how would you like to see it change?
I think it would be good to have more smaller suppliers who can put some pressure on the bigger suppliers over price. I think some areas where I work, like with very energy efficient products and insulation products and things, the market is still too small, so things are expensive. I think we expect a high standard of building, and people want expensive cladding materials, and they want all the appliances in their kitchen, and people want a lot. So we probably have quite expensive briefs for a lot of our houses, and so yes, building is really expensive, and it's worse down in the area I live in, Wanaka, than it is in some other parts of New Zealand. And the only thing we can do is build smaller, get cleverer, combine with other people, and maybe have more than, build a duplex or more than one house on a site. That requires changes to the district plans and planning rules for those things to be allowed to happen, but I think we'll see it starting to go that way.